We met at our first job here in Chicago. We had both just moved here actually, and we both got hired at an advertising agency called Young and Rubicam. He's a copywriter and I'm a designer, and so we kind of worked on a lot of projects together at work, became super good friends outside of work, and then it just kind of turned into dating.
Yeah. And I remember running into your parents in the elevator and complimenting them, and they had really nice glasses on it. And I remember that being a funny moment of them being like, oh, I like that guy because he was nice to us. And that was before we were dating, so we already had kind of made a connection with the family before we had even started dating, which was kind of fun.
Yeah,
and then we ended up working at another ad agency together, which was pretty interesting because I feel like that's a good test of your relationship and stuff like that. But yeah, it was really fun.
Yeah.
And I think the copywriter designer thing's interesting because it's kind of like the left brain, right brain type thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the engagement, it was kind of anticlimactic in a funny way. It was actually outside on this porch here. This was our apartment. We, lived with each other for a year, and Carrie's brother was in town, so I was like, oh, he'll be a good person to kind of be like backup and take photos and kind of distract her. And it was actually pretty funny because I'd asked Carrie's dad about 4 months prior, and
They were very anxious.
the ring took a really long time to make. I was expecting it to only take a couple weeks, and it took him a while to make it. And so I was feeling the pressure. So when I had the chance, I, when Jeff was in town, I popped the question out there, and I don't know, it's cool. I think it will be nice.
I had no clue it was coming because my brother was here. I knew that we would be engaged soon, but my brother was here, so it wasn't on my mind at all. So I was super caught off guard. Me and my brother had just gotten home from going to the art museum, and we came home, and Andrew was all dressed up, and I was like, what? Why do you have like a nice shirt on? And I could tell something was about to happen, and then he was like, can you come out to the porch for a second? And I was like, sure, is everything okay? And then
she was watering plants.
Yeah.
She had to put down the watering can.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it'll be nice like later to drive by and you can look at the porch or something, and you're like, unless hopefully the building's still standing in the future.
Right away after we got the venue and the date and everything, my parents were super excited about the venue, but my parents are a little more traditional as far as, I grew up going to church and stuff, and so the officiant or the person marrying us was super important to my parents. And because the location wasn't a church and it was kind of more of a progressive venue, more kind of like a warehouse, they really wanted the ceremony to be, sacred and special and not just kind of the preface to having a party later. And so I started doing my research because I wasn't sure who that person would be. And so we talked to maybe like 4 different ones, and I emailed probably with like 10. And I don't know, it was just, you could tell right away if the person kind of clicked with you or not. And with Service Ministries, we talked on FaceTime, I think, and through email, and just by your website and other things that like reviews and the other videos that we saw, it just seemed like it was a very comfortable kind of relationship off the bat with the couples you were marrying. So we moved forward, and we're super glad we did. So what was super nice with you guys is getting kind of the start. You don't realize how much of a process planning a ceremony is that lasts for 30 minutes. Like, so much goes into it, and we really wanted that to be perfect and super special. So it was nice that you guys gave us kind of a framework with different binders of basically anything you need for a ceremony. So you had several examples of readings and blessings and the flow of the ceremony, which no one knows that. So if you were just given like, pick out some stuff you want me to say, it would have been extremely hard. So it was really nice to get the framework and all the examples you gave us, and just the back and forth. You guys were super receptive of if we had any questions, or when we sent you kind of our idea of stuff to mesh in, and then seeing the final product is really nice because it really put your voice into it, but it didn't take our voice out. So I think that was really important to us.
I like how we could customize it and kind of put in the specific quotes we wanted, and it just felt like very natural, and the flow was so nice. And so many people at the wedding were talking about how impressed they were of how personal the ceremony felt. Like a lot of people were like,
a lot of people were crying.
Yeah.
Which is awesome.
A lot of people after the ceremony said that. They were like, that's one of the most personal ceremonies. I feel like I know your guys' story a lot more. I feel like I know like your families and like kind of the dynamic, which is always interesting. I think that's something important that a lot of weddings that we've been to have missed. It just kind of feels like, oh, it's a party, and that's fun, and it's a celebration. Or the ceremony
just feels kind of like every other ceremony they've been to, and I think a lot of people pointed out how the ceremony felt so different from what they've seen in a very good way. It was funny because my parents, a lot of their friends traveled up here for the wedding, and they've all been going to weddings for like years together, like all their kids and friends and everything. And my mom was like, yeah, some of the guys I like looked over and they were like tearing up, and I've never even seen them cry. So that's pretty cool because they don't even know us that well, like my parents' friends. So I think the atmosphere was very personal, and I think that goes to show about like how you weave in what people are used to hearing at a wedding, and like what makes it sacred and special and legit. And then it also had the personal side to it, which I think it meshed together very beautifully, and it really like touched people's hearts.
And it sounds like we're talking about like, oh, it was very sad and like emotional, like, but like people were laughing too. There was a lot of good emotions, a lot of good moments like that I thought were like, it was just very nice and memorable. Which is, I think it's
people
hard.
People weren't crying because they were sad.
It was like, I think it's hard because you go to so many of those, and it's they use the same kind of quotes and stuff like that. So it was
and also
different.
One of my friends was saying how they were like, I don't even usually listen to the ceremony. Like I don't like
kind of zone out.
Pay attention. She was like, but I listened that whole time, and I was like, wait, like have I been missing out? Like I think that it kept people's attention, which is also I think pretty cool, because I agree, like sometimes you zone out because you feel like you've heard it before, and it is just like the normal wedding ceremony, and it's not really connected to the people. And I feel like that was the complete opposite for us, which is awesome.
We were just super happy, and I don't know like what we could have asked for more from your guys' side of it. You guys led us along the way, and I think because we're a little more creative and we work in advertising and stuff like that, it was really fun to like feel like we were more part of it and building it with you, versus kind of like you're just kind of telling us what to do and stuff like that. So and even though you offered that if we wanted it to, so it's like it felt like we had a lot of options, and we weren't ever kind of like, oh, we feel lost or anything like that, which I really appreciate, because I think that time before, I feel like you met with us that time before the wedding, and you could kind of tell, you're like, oh, these guys are, they got thousands of things going through their mind, and that was like just a good thing to just have off our plate, of feeling relaxed about that, because that's a big part of that day, and there's a lot of people and
I think this is kind of backing up, but I think one thing that was also really nice about you guys at the very beginning, when like contacting you weren't overbearing at all, where I feel like some other of the people I talked to like were very aggressive with like every day being like, hey, checking in. And I feel like what was really nice about you guys is we had our conversation, and then you left it up to us to kind of reach back out in a way, and then we talked, and then we booked you guys, and then we didn't talk for like several months, because you guys know that wedding planning is insane, and that part probably isn't on the couple's mind yet. So I feel like your timing as far as when we would be starting to think about the ceremony is when you reached back out to us. And so I also really liked that, because you're talking to so many people, especially with us when we were planning it ourselves. We were talking to so many people about very different things, and it was just nice that I knew you guys were booked, and I knew I had you guys, and I didn't have to think about it until you reached back out and you were like, you should start thinking about this. So I think that was really nice too. I didn't feel like I had to like get stuff done super fast, or it was just a very chill situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also the rehearsal, I felt like we like, you know, I think this is kind of common with the rehearsal. It's like you start a little late and it's a little chaotic, and you guys were really good at like organizing everyone, and you could tell we were super nervous and stuff, and you just tried to be like calm, and then, you know, I guess it worked.
We were both like super nervous at our rehearsal dinner just because we kind of
everyone's coming
things
together.
happened before it, and we were a little late, and we wanted to set up more, and so we were kind of not in the best spot at the very beginning, but then it was nice because you guys corralled everyone and we started rehearsing. I think that eased everyone, and then I was like, okay, like this is fine.
And it worked really well because at the rehearsal, I mean, at the ceremony, there was like nothing that I noticed that, you know, like, maybe I put your ring on too quickly. I think that was the only thing I did wrong because I was nervous, but...
I think I put your ring on too fast.
Yeah.
I think it was.
We were worried that my ring was too small and it wasn't going to slide on easy, so...
Exactly.
But
yeah, I don't know. We really don't have anything, like, as far as... Like, we honestly only have positive feedback for you guys, which from two critical people, that part of our job is being critical, like...
Yeah. It was awesome.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it was actually really strange. Like, I haven't heard at any wedding that, I mean, maybe it's because I haven't been like the main person, but every single person was like talking to us about the ceremony specifically.
And that's not
like and we had really good like food and alcohol and stuff. So I was like, oh, it must have been pretty good.
Because we like randomly at the end decided to do a receiving line, which maybe wasn't the best idea because it slowed stuff down. But everyone, like right after the ceremony, was like, oh my gosh, like that was so good.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's just because
they were earnestly saying it too. They were like, because they were pointing out what it was. Like they were like those details about how you guys met, and like the quotes you read like represented different people of your family and stuff like that. It was all they pointed out the things that made it that way.
Something about every little part, like something struck a chord with I think a lot of people. I think one of the funniest one was our friend James. He's like a very
he's a British guy and kind of, you know,
very stoic.
Yeah.
And like doesn't show emotion really.
Yeah.
He's a very dry, sarcastic guy, and I've never seen him be so like gave me a hug and was like he got pretty emotional. Yeah. So that was fun. Yes.
You broke some hard shells. Which was funny.